Good morning and welcome to the January 5th, 2023 special meeting for the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors. At this time, could you please stand for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some new faces this morning. Welcome, Supervisor.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome.
So with that, I will have the clerk read out the regular agenda item number 1.
Adopt a resolution ratifying the Director of Emergency Services proclamation of a local state of emergency for the winter storm damage from extreme weather events beginning on or around December 29, 2022.
Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Supervisor Hubery. John Osborne, your Director of Emergency Services. I have a short presentation just to kind of paint a picture of what we've been up to the last couple days. First and foremost, we started about the 29th of December when we began broadcasting information about the National Weather Service and the upcoming series of storms. And then that was the 29th. The 30th, we were at level 3, which is a duty officer level, monitoring, checking in with our folks and making sure that we didn't have any great big problems as the storm began to unfold. On the 31st at about 12:39 p.m., the National Weather Service issued a flood warning regarding roadways, rivers, creeks, and other flood-prone areas. And then we began sharing our partners' information about sandbag information, winter storm information, and localized flooding. On the 31st at 10 a.m., we stood up an emergency operations center at a level 2, which is a partial activation. It's not a full activation of all 18 emergency support functions. We were joined by the City of Angels Camp in that endeavor. We worked with our partners from Health and Human Services and Transportation. We had an immediate need with the Castle Rock mobile home park being evacuated for sheltering and for transportation. And actually by that time we had deployed sandbags to 11 different locations across the county. The 31st, by the early morning and that evening before, we started seeing some localized flooding. This is the Cosgrove Creek area, and I think the picture on the right is La Cantena. Just to give you kind of an idea about what we faced right off the bat. We announced some evacuation centers. We opened a center in cooperation with our friends from the school system at the Mountain Oaks Academy and our ESF 6 coordinator, which is Health and Human Services. Public Works was obviously pretty busy out and about, making sure that we had sand and sandbags out. We enlisted our friends from the Animal Services folks, and they opened up not only their shelter, but the county fairgrounds for large animals. Those two shelters remain open today. By the end of that day, we were able to actually get those folks transitioned out of the human shelter, and we stood that down, and it stands in a ready state to reopen immediately should we need it. We had quite a few road closures, and some of these road closures, as we've had very little time to do much evaluation on them, will be long-term closures. I believe White and Highway 26 will be a long-term closure, as will where's the second one down there? Baldwin Lane between Berkesee and Highway 26 will also, looks like it'll be a long-term closure. So we were able to mop up some of these, or our folks from Public Works were able to clean up some of these and get them back open as the water receded. So there's the list of areas where we have sandbag locations available, the press release there, and we continue to support those. We've received support from both the state OES as well as Caltrans. And to give you kind of an idea, we've had spotted reportings because some of these aren't manned, but to give you a kind of a paint the picture, Murphy's has prepared almost 1,000 sandbags as of about yesterday. And just about as soon as we get them onto a pallet, they leave. So still in very high demand. Just before coming in here, Vista del Lago was running out of sand, and as I walked up here, I got the text that Public Works was right on it and was delivering sand as we spoke. There's some pictures. We enlisted the Vallecito Hand crews, the 2 crews that we do have available, and they have been doing magnificent work. They've been pre-flighting sandbags so that our residents actually don't have to fill them. We normally don't do that, but we've been able to maintain the crews here in the county and be able to do that at multiple locations across the county. So this particular one is at the fire station in Jennyland, and those 3 pallets of sandbags that you see are out and deployed at this point. So day 2 was a long day. We continue to operate the Emergency Operations Center at a level 2 with support from all of our county partners as well as our operational area partners. At one point we had about 3 dogs in the local shelter here and nothing in the large animal shelter until yesterday. We took in 1 horse and 5 pigs who are much better off dry and happier than where they were. The 3 dogs yesterday afternoon went home, so we have created a little bit more space. Our animal control folks opened up the focus room with individual cages so that we can house as many small animals as we can. We did take some water into some structures, and as a part of that, when the water receded the first time, we enlisted the building department to conduct safety inspections of those residences so that we weren't releasing or getting people out of a shelter where they were safe and putting them back into a home that was unsafe. Doug and his team went out and did a massive amount of inspections in a very short period of time to make sure that the specifically Castle Rock Mobile Home Park was safe to have folks come home to, as well as the La Quintana grouse area in there. Murphy's Fire Protection, Murphy's Creek did leave its banks, and about 6 structures took significant water. And there's the station that they're up over 1,000 sandbags in about 72 hours. So total damage assessment at this point is 25 single-family homes have been impacted, 25 apartment units, and at least 3 commercial structures. To be completely honest with you, we've had just enough break to kind of get caught up and then start taking weather again. So that is by no means very reflective of the complete damage at this point. That's kind of a thumbnail sketch of what we've been able to get done. Yesterday we had some various PG&E outages. And then actually what I want to do here is a new share. And if I can come over to, I'll get to it in just a minute. I'll show you our community information center that kind of shows you a breadth of what PG&E is facing at this point. So overall, throughout the county, we've lost some power here and there, but comparatively to the state, we're actually doing pretty well. Oops, let me give it a click. I don't even know what date it is. Through yesterday, we continue to operate the Emergency Operations Center in a level 2 status. To make things a little more fun, our Our office took significant, couple inches of water, I think Friday or Saturday. And so we, when we left the sheriff's office in a full EOC and were able to work closer to home down here at the government center, we seized the admin conference room for a couple of days and worked out of there. And I'm happy to report that this morning we were back in our own digs. So shout out to our facilities team who got it dry and got it clean and got us back into our own working space. We continue to have 11 locations for Sandbags. The human emergency evacuation shelter stands ready to reopen should we need that. And we have had a large influx of flood fighting resources come into the county. Public Works earlier this week ordered an additional 20,000 sandbags. I think we've got 15,000 more coming from CalOES, some tarps and some wattles from those folks. And then to date, I think we've taken about 100 tons of sand. Just some overall pictures. What you see here on the top is the evacuation of Castle Rock. Shout out to Clements Fire for lending us their super cool aluminum boat there. And then what you see are some water rescues down below. I believe the lower right is down towards McCollum Hill. And then I'll jump out of, let me stop share real quick here, and then I'll hop into
Good. Okay.
Did that work? Nope, let's try it again. Ah. There we go. Okay. Move that down there. What I'm sorry, excuse me. What you see here is our Community Information Center. This is specifically our evacuation application. The red dots that you see are the various road closures that we have across the county. And then if you look right there, down in the lower right-hand corner, that is the fairgrounds shelter. And then there is our normal shelter across the street. To give you kind of a breadth of the idea, an idea about what PG&E is facing right now across the state, they have about 200,000 customers out of power. To give you kind of an idea about where we are, there's the county, and we have, so basically these little dots are very small outages, sometimes as little as a single customer. The yellow are between 50 and 499 customers. So comparatively to the Bay Area, we have power. Throughout the course of this, we have leveraged our Calaveras alert system. To date, we've reached 4,704 contacts across 73 messages. Those messages mostly have been National Weather Service warnings. Each one of our contacts are community members that sign up in Calaveras Alert, can opt in to receive weather warnings of whatever they choose to. I mean, if they want a tsunami warning, you can check that box. I used to say tornado, but we had one of those, so I don't say that anymore. Most of them have been lightning, the winter storm warning, the flooding warnings, and stuff like that. So behind the scenes, our notification system is getting the message out to our folks that have signed up and opted in to receive those alerts. They're getting real-time information about weather. Yesterday afternoon, the governor did proclaim a statewide emergency. As you guys were notified, I believe you guys got a link to that specific proclamation. And on the 31st at 2 p.m., as you guys were out of session, I did proclaim a local emergency and would ask that you ratify that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board before I go to public comment?
I do have a couple questions, and I don't know, John, if you can answer them or Doug could answer them. We did inspections, especially at the trailer court and the homes that were flooded, San Andreas and down through there. Did we red tag any of those homes, preventing people from re-entering and moving back in? And if so, how many?
Doug Oliver, Chief Building Official. So in the initial onset, the safety assessments did identify several units that could not be reoccupied. There were 8 apartment units on San Andreas Drive, and then the remaining 14 structures, of those 14, sorry. Let me back up. There's 8, 14. 6. There you go, 6. I can do math. All right.
Okay.
So the remaining 6 were residences that had suffered damage that were renters or other non-owner occupied structures that received do not occupy. So we said red tag to kind of abbreviate, but in the emergency response system, that's actually kind of downgraded to what's called a yellow tag or restricted occupancy. So they have limitations. They can't stay the night, but they can go in, do repairs, they can get their stuff, they can interact in the building. They're not structurally dangerous, but we don't want anybody plugging in electrical equipment or living in there if it's not dried out. Black mold is a significant concern in rental units.
So do we have any idea where those people are that they seek? They're not in any of our centers that we have set up? They're still there?
We don't know where they are.
We don't know where they're, okay.
When the safety inspections or the safety assessments were conducted, the buildings were essentially empty for a portion of those. And we actually, at the height at Mountain Oaks, I think we had about 10 folks. And then that kind of dwindled, I think, as people found friends and family to go to. And it got down to 2 families that were from Castle Rock. And once we actually were able to clear both of those structures, we got them back home.
Okay, so they weren't able to occupy their homes. They found their own way of either family-friendly, hotel, motel, or whatever. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor, in case that generally is what happens on something that's modest at this point. As far as when people are out of their homes, they usually find other places to go, and they prefer to do that. If it gets more widespread and some of their options are gone, then you're into a more robust sheltering situation. But as part of that too, Red Cross is always there to also help provide vouchers and things to put people so they're prepared if they need it. We do have help for them through the Red Cross.
Well, the reason I was asking is because when we had the Butte fire, the vets hall down in Valley Springs, we had them there for like 2 months hanging on. So I was just wondering if we still were housing any of them or they'd all found somewhere else to go. So, okay.
Ben?
Just want to thank everyone for their response. I talked to Craig, as we go in with these saturation levels, any amount of rain could be substantial in this situation. So I just want to say thanks to Public Works for going out and clearing out some of those culverts that are clogged right now on the sides of roads, so we don't potentially have more damage and everything. And everyone that's been proactive going out throughout this, just appreciate the work. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I want to echo that sentiment too. Public Works and their road crews, kudos to all of them. They've been out there every day during this whole thing since it's been started, clearing trees off roadways that fell across roadways, culverts, anything that needs to be attention when they're called to, they're there and they take care of it. So thank you very much to all of Public Works and their road crews.
Are there any other questions? Nope. Okay. Is there any public comment on the agenda item, the resolution from OES ratifying the state of emergency?
Madam
Hi.
Chair, Board, Kathy Galino, Calaveras County Economic and Community Development. I just want to let folks know that we do have a call center that is open. The number is 209-754-2855. We have information and people ready to answer phones and answer questions. As we're going into the recovery phase, I'm going to go straight to recovery. We are looking at actually having an SBA, Small Business Administration declaration, which would provide our businesses with assistance and relief. I pretty much believe we've met that threshold. So it's a combination for a physical disaster of 25 homes and businesses and/or businesses. And at the economic disaster recovery, the threshold is only 5 businesses. So I think we've pretty much met that. So I'll be working with SBA and I'll be updating the board and the community on those efforts.
Thank you, Kathy. Craig?
Just a comment, from I came back over here on Saturday and I've been engaged every day, since. And it's just one of those things, that's not, a pat on the back for me, but I want to give observation is just that if you were in the EOC and observing all of what's going on, it's really always heartwarming to see, regardless of what level of government it is, whether it's a special district, city, county government, state entities, federal entities, everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, what you think that the public would expect of the government system, regardless of their patches and their levels, that you get together and you serve the public. And that's exactly what's happening here. And that's the heart and the spirit. And everyone's just been working very well in the sandbox together. So just to share that with you and for the public at large, you should be proud of your responding agencies.
The last thing I want to mention is also in the press release, there is tax relief for those residences that were impacted from storm damage. So please reach out to the assessor's office or me and we can help you with that process as well.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any other public comment on this agenda item?
I just have kind of a comment or a question. I live on the corner of Main and 49.
Yeah, come up
in
to.
McColmy Hill. And I get impacted by all the storm drainage from the Moke Hill Market on down and from the top of Stockton Hill all the way down, and it runs underneath the freeway or the highway and into my backyard. And it can be anywhere from a foot deep, 80 feet wide. I have been out there by hand trying to dig a trench, but it goes through my yard and hits a fence and goes into a moat that my neighbor next to me has built to keep their house from flooding. I was not aware of any of this when I purchased this property. I wanted to put a pool and a little structure in my backyard. I can't do anything back there. And I talked to Jack a while back, and he said maybe I need to come in here and see if I can get somebody to look at it, communicate with Caltrans or Public Works to come up with a solution so I can use my property. Otherwise, it's just for public use, for drainage. And there's nothing, no easement or anything like that from my records that I need to provide that for drainage from the Highway 49 and 26. So is there anybody here that has any feelers out anywhere or comment on what I need to do?
Yeah, we can get your information and we'll get some folks to look at your situation.
Okay. All right.
So I'll get with you right after.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I've been on to it.
Thank you. Are there any other public comment in the room? Okay, seeing none, are there any online?
No online.
Okay, bring it back to the board. I too echo what Ben and Gay have said, everyone's been doing an amazing work, getting the information out. So thank you to everyone who has sacrificed their New Year's to keep things going. So with that, is there a motion to approve resolution, ratifying this resolution for emergency?
I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution ratifying the Director of Emergency Services proclamation of a local state of emergency for the winter storm damage from extreme weather events beginning on or around December 29th, 2022.
I will second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. That passes 5-0. With that, we'll see everybody next Tuesday. Thank you for being here today.